So I'm back on the bike path. Over there is I'm a couple blocks down from where I started. Actually got lost. Didn't take this little pedestrian bridge that goes under the road bridge. Wish I would have known about that. I think that's also new. Anyway, I'm gonna walk down this way. I'm looking for something, but figured this is all still new to me or re-new to me. So I still want to capture it, see everything, and I'm going for a brisk walk. And when I say brisk, it's about 37 Fahrenheit, 3 Celsius out. So obviously very different from what I'm used to. Even compared, of course, to in Portland, late in March. That would be a very cold temperature for late in March in Portland. So back in Montana and adjusting to the cold, which as the day goes on, it will reach actually a pretty good temperature, but it's cold right now. So the emphasis of this park is mostly on nature, or these parks, they're kind of interlocking parks, is nature. You can see all that nature, but we do have lots of different fields here along the way. A lot of different mini parks scattered among this park. This, of course, is also something I haven't seen for a while. There's crows there. Haven't had any true corvids for a while. I had something that resembled a corvid, but it's nice to hear crows again. Strangely enough, the crows are specific to Missoula. They're not crows where I'll be going, even though it's only 40 or 50 miles away. We'll have other corvids, though. As is usually the case, I don't specifically show them, but I have seen a number of people using the path to walk or jog. And it is also usually the case in Missoula. They are bright, rosy-cheeked people with perky looks on their face. And right here, we actually have some access down to the water. Missed this being a thing. So I touched water, as they say. And that is the Clark Fork. It's usually just called the Clark Fork, although in full, that's the Clark Fork of the Columbia River. It is a tributary of the Columbia. And one thing that I appreciate here, you can tell, both by the river and on the path, there's no garbage. Natural areas are treated very well here to the eye. Now, the thing about that is that a couple miles up from here, there was a Superfund site due to this is where I should know whether it was a mine or lumber operation. I believe a mine and tailings along the river. And so some of that respect for nature is more in the aesthetics, and a lot of these landscapes have still been polluted and damaged. But at least for my morning walk, it does feel a lot nicer to be here. The elevation of Missoula is about 3,200 feet, I believe, 3,100, 3,000. In any case, the river here is a wide river, and it's not like going down waterfalls. But as you can see there, it's still a pretty vigorous river. It's not too deep. Somewhat comparable to the Willamette in Eugene, where we've been before, but a little bit, even a little bit more stream-like than that. Not possible to navigate the river except in canoes and kayaks, which people do like to do. Also on the other side of that bridge, which I believe is Higgins Street Bridge, but it's been a while, so don't trust me. Could be orange. Anyway, on the other side of the bridge, that is the center of downtown Missoula, right across from the university. I think the first brick building that was or is the Wilma Theater. And I don't actually know what this building is. This could have been an old train station, actually. So right here, like I said, this is a complex of parks. So right here is the Clark Fork Natural Park. So it's another park in the complex of parks. And just like on the other hand, this is turning into a more natural-oriented park. But we are not going to go there today. We're not going to go there today because there's something I need in this direction. Most of the neighborhood up there is, for Missoula, an old neighborhood. We're still in the heart of old Missoula. So this was the late 1800s into the early 1900s. So early homes, from the mining period into, arts and craft style homes. And then like in most cities outside of that, then you're going to see a lot of 50s ranch homes and stuff like that. Might also get to find out what this building is, which maybe you can't see because of the glare of the sun. So this is the business I came to patronize, Meadow Sweet Herbs. A lot of stuff I haven't had access to. I'm going to buy some kava is the plan. And it smells good. It's not open for another 5 minutes. So I'm going to walk around this neighborhood a little. One thing that's a little bit different between Missoula and other towns in the Pacific Northwest, in the more traditional Pacific Northwest, a lot of brick architecture here from its early days. And of course, Portland, Seattle, very logging oriented, a lot of wood from the beginning. For whatever reason, I don't know if this was natural resources or styles, Missoula has a lot more brick structures. It'd be interesting to know more about the history of that. Although, on the other hand, it does have a lot of wooden structures as well. And that's true of old Missoula. Outside, you get more typical, 50s through the present styles of construction. I just wanted to show that a little bit about Missoula. Sometime in the future, hopefully I'll be doing full-length video on Missoula, or maybe several of them. I could really easily do an hour about Missoula. So I did look it up, and if anybody's curious, that is the old Missoula station on the Milwaukee Road. There's another station on the north end of town where the current tracks are, and that might have been for a different rail line. At some point, I will actually do more about the railroad history of Montana. Right now, I'm just looking at nice buildings. And as you can see, there's no tracks anywhere near there right now. Okay, well, I was waiting a little while to see if the store would open, and I'm going to go do that again. I didn't see this on the way out because it's on the entrance. It's technically called the John H. Toole Riverfront Park, or this section of it is. As I explained, there's like several parks in a row, and I usually just think of it as the Riverfront Trail, but the parks do have their separate names. Clark Fork Native Prairie. So this is a little informational kiosk, and kind of perhaps this is supposed to be a recreation of what this would have looked like at the time. So along here, there's a lot of different microclimes and microbiomes. And it goes between open prairie and forest. Because it's dry here and cold, you don't usually get the forest you get in the Pacific Northwest. So you get more an open prairie or open woodland with some ponderosa pine trees, I believe those are. But then closer to the river, you can get a denser deciduous forests. So there's a lot of different ecosystems and biomes in a small area here, which we will be covering in the future. And we will especially be covering when they've left their state of dormancy and torpor, which everything is still in dormancy and torpor here, except for all the people who are out running. So this is called the Milwaukee Trail, and I assume this was rails to trails, and this is actually the site of the old Milwaukee Road, famous railroad, and that makes sense because there was the Missoula station of the Milwaukee Road right behind us. And so I'm not sure when and why they built the second set of freight tracks that are still in use north of the river. It's funny that these questions have not occurred to me before, when I was living here. So I guess in the future I'll be trying to find an answer to those questions. So the sun went behind a cloud. And even though it's getting later in the day, it's around 10:30 or so, it's still nippy here, still really cold, and it's taking me a while to adjust, especially I have to remember I need to keep my hands warm. And so, newsflash, it gets cold in Montana. There's also little things like this. There's a bicycle repair station. There's a drinking fountain that's not working, and I don't think that's because it's broken. I think it's because it's winter and they do that so it doesn't freeze. So it'll be a while before they turn on the drinking fountains. And so I saw this coming down, and I'm going to cross this pedestrian bridge underneath the road bridge. Let's see how that goes. This is a thing, just like it is in a lot of places right now. There is tent camping. Missoula has followed the trend of other places of housing starting to be very expensive here, or actually completed that. Missoula used to be very cheap and casual, and now it's a problem. Because of the temperatures, people who become homeless here usually move to other places. on the West Coast where it's more mild. But that is a thing here. Just wanted to point that everything out here is not rosy-cheeked people running along in Victorian-era homes.